Shalom. We're here to do a quick sit down. Brothers were in the spirit to do a sit down, and we wanted to do as much work as possible for this brother had to leave town. Try and push his work out as much as possible. We're going to do a quick lesson on suffering. It's going to be called Perfect Through Sufferings, because it's that time we're nearing the time of Jacob's trouble. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, the elders of GMS, and Barakatati brothers teaching his truth and honesty and sincerity. Start out with Hebrews 2 and 10.
Okay, this is the book of Hebrews, chapter 2, verse 10. It reads, "For it became him, for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, in bringing in many sons unto glory, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through sufferings."
Right, the captain of our salvation is Yahweh Shai, and he became perfect through sufferings, even though he was already perfect, because Yahweh Shem Yahushai is trying to perfect us, and to do that, he's going to chastise us, and he's going to make us suffer, because suffering makes you perfect. Next scripture is 1 Peter 4.
So I can bring out 12 and 6 first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright. This is Hebrews chapter 12, verse 6. "For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son who he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not?"
Right, it's like, when you got a kid and you got a son and he misbehaves, you give him a smack on the ass, or you yell at him or something, because you're trying to correct him. It's what Yahweh Shem Yahushai does, It's what the Most High does to us. He chastises us, to make us want this knowledge and stay in this truth, because you got to make some tough decisions, because you're either going to be of the world or of this truth. And if you weren't chastised, you're gonna fall into darkness, You got that? Well, yeah, if you got something to add, go ahead.
"But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons."
Right, because Yahweh Shai had to suffer, and all the apostles and prophets had to suffer. So we gotta go through that too, We gotta drink of the cup that we're given. Some brothers suffer in other ways. Some brothers suffer more than others, You gotta take what lot is given to you. And pretty much chastisement is a part of this thing, Because Elder Tahar gave the example, I think it was a few weeks ago, on the highways, where he said, if I won the lottery, I think I'd be out here teaching next week. Because he's really got to come first, and to do that, he's got to chastise you. Go ahead, man.
And if I may add, chastisement comes in many different forms of way. Chastisement can come by cold weather, it can come by rain, it can come by your boss, your woman, things like that, of that nature. Alright, this is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 4, verse 1. It says, "For as much then as Yahweh shall have suffered for us in the flesh," which also proves that Yahweh Shai did come into the flesh, which cuts that on that spirit doctrine that Yahweh Shai came in the spirit, or he was a spirit here on earth. The scripture said that he came in the flesh. And when you come down here in the flesh and you're living in hell, you're suffering, being chastised.
The scriptures also said, "I shall not meet thee as a man," meaning his second coming. Said obviously means in the first time he was on this earth, he meant us as a man, you know. Go ahead.
It says, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind.
Right. So in your mind, you got to have the mind of suffering, you know, because Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is trying to correct us and steer us in the right direction. And to do that, we really need to be punished, because, you know, to understand what wickedness is, you really got to observe it, you know. Go ahead.
And then understand what would it be like if you didn't get chastised, you know? That's like you have a son, he go to school, he act up, he get in trouble, you come home and you don't whoop him. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to go back to school and he's going to keep doing bad. But if you whoop him, if you inflict that pain on him, then he's going to start learning, you know?
Yeah.
Because I mean, when the kid gets an ass whooping, he's not going to want another one, you know? I mean, if you whoop his ass correctly, of course.
And to add, that gives you discipline, you know. You can't be a little brat in this thing. Like the scriptures say, all things be done decently in order. And in order, you know, we had a guy in this camp, Kodar, who was a mama's boy, and he lacked discipline, you know. He had an unruly tongue. He was kind of rude to the older brothers in the camp that had been in this thing, you know. But just goes to show you, a brat can't be in this thing. You gotta have discipline, and part of being a man is also having discipline. Go ahead.
It says, for he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin.
Right, because the more that you suffer in the flesh, the less like you are to sin. You know.
And a perfect example of that, Slakia, if I may add, a perfect example of that is before you came into this truth, you might have used to eat pork, or you might have used to shave your head or shave your beard. Now, when you come into this truth and you realize you can't do those things, you start growing your beard back, you stop lining up your head, and then like maybe the next day you may have to go to work, you may see some fine women. They're digging the guy that has like a smooth naked face, or his head is lined up, or he has a 5 o'clock shadow. The women are digging him. So because the women are giving that man more attention, but not you, then that's when you're gonna start suffering in the flesh. Like, man, I mean, what should I do? I really want this woman, but she's paying more attention to him.
Someone get John 15 and 16.
I mean, she's single, but when you come into this truth, you suffer in the flesh, because when you come into this truth, you realize there's things you cannot do in this truth that you used to do out in the world. So when your flesh wants to do those things, you have to tell yourself not to. And when your flesh wants to do those things, that's when you're suffering, because you're telling yourself not to do it. And that also builds up patience and faith.
Right, because this world is against you, and that's part of the suffering, is the world being against you. Because if you want to follow these commandments, you're going to have to suffer, You're going to have to suffer being looked at wrong, you're going to have to suffer being called crazy, because to be right in this society is considered crazy to these people, and that's also suffering. That's how you cease from sin, is to follow the commandments, and you're going to suffer when you do that. That's also another way to look at that scripture. Go ahead.
This is John chapter 15, verse 16. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you. These things I command you, that ye love one another.
Right.
If the world hate you, do ye know that it hated me before it hated you?
Right. So the world hated. Gotta keep that. The world hated Yahushua, so it's gonna hate us. That's also part of the suffering, is having everybody come against us. Keep going.
If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you.
Right, the world hateth you, you know, because Yahushua chose us out of the world, you know, because you know, we're trying to teach this word just like he did, just like the apostles did. So everybody's got to come against us just like it did to them, because you know, there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. You know, if you got something you want to add on that, pretty much that's part of the suffering too. Is, you know, people talking shit behind your back. Like I hear things all the time from people I used to know when I was younger. I'm wearing a monk's. I'm dressed up like a monk. I'm wearing a Superman cape. I'm dressed up like Harry Potter. You know. I get called crazy for not eating pork. Oh, why don't you eat a little pork? It's not gonna kill you. You know, little things like that. But after a while, it just fucking piles down on you. And you gotta deal with people talking shit about you. You know, people you used to know or people that you do know. And they act friendly in front of your face like a fucking serpent. But you gotta say fuck them people, man. It's part of the suffering. In fact, next scripture is on John 12:25.
Alright, this is the book of John, chapter 12, verse 25. He that loveth his life shall lose it. You know, and basically, you know, if you're into this world, you know, if you're out there partying, having a great time, you know, you know, I mean, because in order to have a great time in this society, you have to be wicked. So if you're having a great time in this society, it means you're being wicked, because this whole kingdom revolves around wickedness, you know. Rather if it's, you know, like smoking weed, you know, going out to clubs every night, you know, shaving your beard, eating abominable foods, etc. But I mean, if you love your life in this world, then you're not, you know, if you're not of the elect, then you're just going to be destroyed. So it says, he that loveth his life shall lose it, and he that hateth his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. And you know, if you hate your life, you know, I mean, if you're in this truth, you know, I mean, if you're truly in this truth, you're going to hate your life, because being in this truth, you know, like I said earlier, you're gonna realize that there's just so many things you cannot do in this world, because the majority of the things in this world is wicked. So, you know, you might go to work, you might just see people like partying and having a great time, and you know, that might be grievous to you because your life is miserable. But what did Yahushua say in the book of Matthew's 5th chapter? Rejoice ye, because for great is your reward in heaven.
Right, that's part of sacrificing and suffering, you know. Hating your life, you know, because the more wickedness you observe, the more bitter you get. And primarily that scripture comes down to, you know, you got to be willing to sacrifice for this truth. You might have to be willing to get tortured once Esau nabs your ass. You know, you might be put in a concentration camp and tortured. You know, you might be locked up for this truth, you know. You might lose your family, might think you're crazy and stop talking to you. It's all part of hating your life, you know. Sacrificing yourself, like the scriptures say. Present your body as a living sacrifice.
You know, I got a precept. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 12, verse 11. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb which is Yahushua, and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death.
Right. You know, you gotta love your life unto death.
Love not your life unto death.
Yeah, love not your life unto death. Slack it. Because, in fact, you got your pocket front hand me?
Come.
It's Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus 4:28. This is a quick precept right here. You know?
You said on Ecclesiastes what?
Ecclesiasticus 4:28.
Okay, Ecclesiastes 4:28. Alright, Ecclesiasticus chapter 4, verse 28. It reads, strive for the truth unto death.
Right. It's plain and simple. Strive for the truth unto death. You know, you can't love your life in this thing, because This is just flesh, you know. You gotta think about the spirit. You might have to make that decision to die in this truth. Like that's how serious this truth is, man. It ain't no joke. You might have to literally die for Yahushua just like he died for us.
That's right.
You might have to die for the brothers. You know?
I got a little bit more here. I'm in Ecclesiasticus 4:28, and it says, and the Lord shall fight for thee.
Like the Lord shall fight for thee, man. You know? If you're willing to sacrifice yourself, you know, your life, whether it's your job, your woman, your family, if you're willing to cut all that shit out, your friends, for this truth, then, you know, how about Shimmy Hawashai is going to fight for you, man. And how is he going to fight for you? By giving you salvation in that day, if you're of the elect. Someone get 1 Peter 4:12.
This is 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you.
Yes, because we're supposed to go through this fiery trial, just so our faith and hope could get tested. Because any man or any woman can say they have faith or hope, but how do you know you have faith or hope unless you've been tested? Because you have to be tested in order to see how much you can take. All right? Like women of the Lord.